Have you ever stood in front of a mirror, bottle of nail polish in hand, and suddenly a little voice in your mind whispered, "Is this okay? Would God be pleased with this?" It's such a small thing, just color on a nail. Yet that small thought can open the door to a big, unsettling question. How does God really see beauty? Let me tell you about Anna. Anna loved Sundays. She loved dressing up for church. Her favorite white dress, her hair in soft curls, and yes, a little soft pink nail polish. But one Sunday, as she was greeting people at the church entrance, a woman in the congregation pulled her aside and said, "You know, a godly woman doesn't need these worldly decorations. That nail polish, it's vanity." Anna's smile faded. She didn't argue, she just nodded politely. But in her heart, she felt a sudden wave of confusion. She thought, is God disappointed in me? Did I just sin without even realizing it? And maybe, just maybe, you felt that same tension. Not just with nail polish, maybe it was makeup, a hairstyle, a certain outfit. You were just trying to express yourself, but then someone's words made you question if you were dishonoring God. Here's the thing. Our hearts long for beauty because our Creator is beautiful. C.S. Lewis once wrote, "We do not merely want to see beauty. We want something else which can hardly be put into words, to be united with the beauty we see. That longing isn't by accident. But could something as small as nail polish twist that God-given longing into something sinful? Or is it simply an expression of it?" Before we answer that, let's go back, way back. In the very beginning, God made Adam and Eve in His image. No makeup, no polish, no accessories, yet they were perfect. Their beauty came from reflecting God's nature. But after sin entered the world, humanity's view of beauty began to change. It became easier to focus on outward appearances instead of the heart. That's why God reminded His people over and over what true beauty is. In 1 Samuel 16:7, God says, "Man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart." But here's the question. Does that mean outward beauty is wrong, or does it mean it's simply not the main thing? Jesus never condemned a person for wearing something colorful or taking care of their appearance. In fact, when He taught about the lilies of the field in Matthew 6:28-29, He said they were clothed more beautifully than even Solomon in all his glory, yet they didn't toil or spin. He was pointing to the fact that beauty itself comes from God, but He also warned against making it an idol. So where does that leave us with something as everyday as nail polish? Could it be that the problem isn't the paint, but the purpose? Could it be that what matters most to God is why we're doing it? Think about Anna again. She wasn't painting her nails to attract praise. She wasn't trying to compete or prove anything. She simply enjoyed the little sparkle, the way it made her feel cheerful. Could that, done in humility, be any more sinful than wearing a patterned scarf or a bright shirt? But here's the twist. Not everyone paints their nails with a pure heart. Sometimes outward beauty can become a way of masking insecurity, chasing attention, or feeding pride. And if we're honest, we've all been there in some way. We've all had those moments where appearance mattered more to us than the condition of our soul. That's where the real danger lies. So, is nail polish a sin? Or is it a mirror, reflecting the heart behind it? The answer might not be as black and white as some people make it sound. Before we dive deeper, I want you to pause and think. Have you ever been judged for your appearance in church? If you have, write in the comments, "God sees my heart." Let's make the comment section a space where we remind each other of what truly matters. And as you're thinking about that, make sure you hit subscribe and turn on the bell icon, because we're about to peel back the layers on this question in a way you might never have heard before.
Anna couldn't stop thinking about that comment from the woman at church. That night, she opened her Bible and started flipping through pages, looking for answers. She found verses about modesty, humility, and the beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit. But nothing specifically about nail polish. And that's when the real tension hit her. If the Bible doesn't directly mention something, how do we know if it's right or wrong? That's where discernment comes in. You see, the Bible isn't just a rule book. It's God's living word, meant to shape our hearts so that our choices align with His will. C.S. Lewis once said, "Obedience is the key to all doors." But here's the thing. Obedience isn't about following human traditions. It's about following God's truth, even when people around us have different opinions. Anna thought about the Pharisees in Jesus' day. They added layer upon layer of rules that God never commanded. They looked holy on the outside, but inside, their hearts were far from God. Jesus called them out in Matthew 23:27, saying they were like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but empty on the inside. That's when Anna realized something. God's concern isn't the color on your nails, it's the condition of your heart. The danger isn't in the polish, it's in pride. But here's where it gets tricky. What if your outward choice becomes a stumbling block for someone else? Paul addresses this in Romans 14:13, urging us not to put a stumbling block in the way of a fellow believer. This means even if something isn't inherently sinful, if it causes another Christian to fall into temptation or judgment, we should approach it with wisdom and love. So picture this. Anna decides to keep wearing her nail polish, but she also becomes mindful. If she's visiting a very traditional church where people see it as inappropriate, she might choose not to wear it, not because she's ashamed, but because love is more important than personal preference. And that's the beauty of Christian freedom. It's not about clinging to our rights, it's about laying them down when it helps someone else grow closer to Christ. But let's not mistake this for living in fear of other people's opinions. There's a fine line between being considerate and being controlled by judgment. Remember Galatians 10:10. Paul says, "If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." This is where many Christians struggle. How do you honor God with your choices without becoming enslaved to the expectations of others? How do you walk in freedom without using that freedom to please yourself above God? Think about your own life. Maybe it's not nail polish. Maybe it's jewelry, a tattoo, a certain style of clothing. Have you ever chosen not to do something, not because God said no, but because people might say no? And here's the challenging part. Sometimes the voice that questions you isn't from God at all. Sometimes it's just human tradition speaking louder than God's truth. Jesus addressed this in Mark 7:8, saying, "You have let go of the commands of God and are holding on to human traditions." Anna sat quietly with these verses, and for the first time, she felt peace. She realized that God wasn't hovering over her with a checklist, waiting to catch her in a mistake. He was looking at her heart, her intentions, her love for Him, and her willingness to glorify Him in everything she did. But the question remains, if God sees the heart, and beauty can be a reflection of His nature, could outward beauty actually be a way of worship? Could something as small as nail polish be a silent act of creativity that mirrors the one who made the sunsets, the flowers, and the vibrant colors of the earth? Before we answer that, I want you to pause and write in the comments, "My heart belongs to God." Let's fill this space with reminders of where true beauty begins. And if you're ready to see how this everyday question connects to God's design for beauty and worship, make sure you like this video. It helps more people hear this message and be set free from unnecessary guilt. Anna woke up the next morning with a fresh thought in her heart. What if beauty, when rooted in the right place, is actually a form of worship? She thought about the God who painted the skies with fiery sunsets, who scattered wildflowers in meadows where no human eye might ever see them. If beauty was simply vanity, why would God weave it so extravagantly into creation? That led her to Psalm 27:4. "One thing I ask from the Lord,
to gaze on the beauty of the Lord and to seek Him in His temple. The beauty here isn't about makeup, clothing, or polish. It's about the glory of God Himself. But if we're made in His image, could it be that our own creativity and care for our appearance, when done humbly, reflects His beauty to the world? C.S. Lewis once said, "We are to shine as the sun, not for ourselves, but to reflect the glory of God." That's the key. Beauty that points back to Him is worship. Beauty that points only to us is vanity. Anna began to see her nail polish differently. No longer a small accessory under suspicion, but a tiny, colorful reminder that God delights in beauty when it comes from a pure heart. She even prayed over it once, smiling as she said, "Lord, let everything I do, even this, be for your glory." But here's the challenge for us. Beauty can never be the source of our worth. If we find our value in how polished our nails are, how flawless our skin is, or how perfect our hair looks, then we've traded eternal truth for something temporary. That's why Peter wrote in 1 Peter 3:4, "Your beauty should not come from outward adornment. Rather, it should be that of your inner self, the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit." Notice, Peter doesn't ban outward adornment. He simply points us to what lasts. A nail polish color fades in days, but kindness, a gentle spirit, a heart surrendered to God, those never fade. So, is nail polish a sin? Not if your heart is right before God. The sin isn't in the color, it's in the corruption of purpose. It's when our appearance becomes an idol, a source of pride, or a wall between us and others. Imagine if the church became a place where beauty was never a weapon of judgment, but a gift of encouragement. Imagine walking in and hearing someone say, "I love how joyful you look today," instead of, "That's not appropriate for church." That's the kind of grace Jesus extended. He always saw the person before the appearance. And that's where our freedom lies. As followers of Christ, we are free not to please ourselves, but to reflect His heart in every choice. Whether it's what we wear, how we style our hair, or yes, whether we paint our nails. The question is always the same. Does this draw me closer to God and help me love others better? Anna still paints her nails sometimes, but now every time she does, it's with a quiet prayer that her life, not just her appearance, would be a canvas where God's beauty is displayed. She's free, and so are you. So today, I'll leave you with this. Before you step out of the house, before you add that finishing touch, ask yourself, will this choice reflect me, or will it reflect Him? If the answer is Him, then walk in peace. Now, I want you to flood the comments with the words, "True beauty reflects Him." Let's make it a declaration that in every detail, big or small, we choose to glorify God. And if this message has spoken to you, share it with someone who's been weighed down by unnecessary judgment. You never know. It might just set them free.